Hi, welcome back to Waxing On. It's Monday, and instead of jazz today, we're going to do part one of a two-part series I'm doing on a couple of the Beatles' last few albums. Now, in my opinion, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, there was a big turning point by the time Sgt. Pepper hit. We're talking about 1967, and things really kind of changed then. I mean, that was such a landmark album. There was just so much going on in it, and we expected the next one was going to be something of the same. Next album out in North America was Magical Mystery Tour. Now, gatefold, expect something special. Again, we had just come off Sgt. Pepper, which was just amazing. What were they going to follow that up with? Well, they followed it up with this. McCartney had the idea of, what if we did kind of a psychedelic bus tour? You know, not unlike what Ken Kelsey had put together for the Merry Pranksters out in California, and if you're familiar with that, it's kind of things that Grateful Dead were involved with. There was a lot of LSD. I mean, at this point in time, the 1967, the Beatles were heavy in the drug use as well. They wanted to do a psychedelic album, and this was going to be it, their psychedelic bus tour. Now, the packaging for this, it was great. I'm just going to show you what's in here. We've got, like say, an album that opens. Got a little cartoon here and a little story setting up the premise behind the Magical Mystery Tour. And a 24-page color booklet came with it. I mean, this is a huge, huge book. I've got cast listing at the front. I'm going to have to kind of do this separately because my book has fallen apart over the years. Some photos from it, and you can see even in this one, take a look at this. I Was You. Yeah, we're right in the heat of that Paul is dead conspiracy or scam or whatever you think it was. It was going on before Sgt. Pepper. There was clues they were dropping during Sgt. Pepper on this album as well. There was another one that people bought in on. There's another one on here I'll talk about in a minute. Anyways, there's a 24-page booklet, and it kind of has a cartoon and follows the story of the Magical Mystery Tour. Some great photos of the Beatles. Nice poster if you want to take it out of the... It's kind of hard to get that without the glare. I'm sorry about that, guys. Don't want to cut Ringo out over in the corner. And it wrapped up with the whole cast and crew. And in the back, we've got the words for the songs from the soundtrack. Now, we've only got 5 songs in the soundtrack. One was an instrumental, so we had 6 songs in the soundtrack, just enough for half an album. Now, this one was released as a single album in the United States and Canada. UK, I believe they had a double album set. There was 2 EPs, so 2 smaller versions to get it in. But what they did with this one is on side 2, they added a bunch of familiar songs that had been released as singles. So let's just take a look at what was on the album. Here's the Magical Mystery Tour soundtrack. We got the first tune, Magical Mystery Tour, and I enjoyed this one. It was kind of a great tune. Kind of had the same feel like the opening to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. You've got that, you know, overture kind of introducing the whole thing. Fool on the Hill, a McCartney tune, covered by a lot of people. It was probably the big hit off here. Flying was the instrumental. We got one by George Harrison called Blue Jay Way. Now, I had the music book for this as well, and I think this has to be the oddest song I'd ever seen in the music book. And as a player, it was the most boring song I ever played, because if I recall, it had 1 chord for the whole song. So anyways, different when the Beatles do it, but when you're sitting around playing tunes to entertain yourself, that 1 chord gets a little monotonous, let me say. Okay, we've got another one by McCartney, Your Mother Should Know, and another John Lennon classic, I Am the Walrus. Now, we already saw that a little bit about I Was You. At the end of I Am the Walrus, if you're listening all the way through, there's a part there where it sounds like Lennon saying, "I buried Paul." Again, tying into that Paul is dead conspiracy that we had. Now, there also was talk that if you listen to some of the tracks backwards, you got all kinds of messages on the music. Now, I don't know about you, I could never get my record player to play anything backwards. I could never get the speakers to work and, manually turn it backwards to get those special messages, but apparently it was there. But they're still dropping clues everywhere. Now, in the second half of this album, again, a lot of things that were released as singles. We got Hello Goodbye, and that was a popular tune. I remember seeing them do that as a video on the Ed Sullivan Show, and they quit performing live. They sent a video of a clip and did that one. We've got the ones that were back-to-back on one single recording, Strawberry Fields Forever by Lennon and Penny Lane by McCartney. We've got the tune Baby You're a Rich Man, and again, a John Lennon classic, All You Need Is Love. Side 2, excellent stuff. I mean, there's some great songs there. Those are classics. On side 1, it's a little more of the soundtrack, but there's good tunes. I mean, obviously, I'm the Walrus was a classic, too, to have in there. We've got Fool on the Hill, again, very popular song. I enjoyed Magical Mystery Tour and Your Mother Should Know. So overall, it wasn't a bad album. It was not Sgt. Pepper Volume 2. It was a little more poppy. Again, trying to get a little more on the psychedelic side. The movie version, or the TV movie that they made, did not fare so well. The album did not too badly, sorry, but the video now didn't really click. People weren't buying into it. But if you get a chance to check it out, it's a progression. Again, I think things changed about Sgt. Pepper. We've got Sgt. Pepper, Magical Mystery Tour, the White Album that we'll talk about on Wednesday, Abbey Road, and then culminating with Let It Be. Things are starting to change with the Beatles. At this point in time, Yoko Ono is starting to appear. The dynamic in the band is changing. It's no longer just John, Paul, George, and Ringo. We got John, Paul, George, and Ringo and Yoko, and that's not always sitting well. Things are changing within the band. There's a lot of competition. We'll talk about some of that next week. I encourage you, if you want to find out some of the background, take a look online. To me, I mean, back when we were listening to this, we were just enjoying the music. We didn't know about all those backstories. We didn't know about all the friction. We didn't know about all the drug use. We knew about Yoko and problems that was causing. We knew about the scam or conspiracy with Paul is dead. Those are the big things in the news. Those are the things most people knew about. We didn't know about all this other stuff that was happening in the recording studio or the dynamics between the band. But that is online if you're interested in checking it out. So that's it for today. One of the classic Beatle albums as they're winding down their career, Magical Mystery Tour. Check it out. Online, absolutely. It's on the streaming networks. Hard copies, you can get it. You get that great booklet with it. And it's been around long enough, you might find it in some of those yard sales. I mean, we're getting that time of year, yard sales, garage sales, all those things are going to start happening. So you might want to check around, check out the album, see what you find. There might be some hidden treasures there for you. Okay, that's it. We'll see you on Wednesday. Till then, everybody take care. Stay safe. Thanks for stopping by.